There we go. All right, so last week we left off with a icebreaker question like we do every week. Last week's icebreaker question was I asked, what is your favorite Saturday morning cartoon from growing up? What was your favorite Saturday morning cartoon? Me, myself, it was the X-Men. That was my
Mm.
favorite, the animated X-Men that they did. They recently rebooted X-Men 97, I think is what they call it, and brought it on Disney Plus. Haven't really got to watch it. Feels weird as an adult watching cartoons, but I'll catch up to it, I
It's
guess, at
it's
some
kind of
point.
hard as an adult to
Yeah,
watch cartoons, I think.
it is. Yeah, there's a little
Yeah.
judgment there too, and I can't get my son
hmm
into it. So,
Just a little bit.
well,
Yeah.
how about
I
you? What was your
occasionally will
favorite?
watch. Yeah, I occasionally. So I on that real quick. I occasionally will
Yeah.
watch like some anime or something, and I don't know. Mindy doesn't say anything, but I feel like she always kind of gives me the side eye a little bit when I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, I think my favorite. I thought about this because I'm like, gosh, I'm having a hard time remembering watching Saturday morning cartoons. I know I did, but I think it either had to be, um, it was probably Spider Man.
Oh yeah. Okay, that was a good one. Yeah,
Yeah. I
that's
wanted to
probably my second
say,
favorite.
um, I don't know. I'm gonna say that. I know I watched a lot of Captain Planet as well,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but
Captain Planet.
it was probably Spider Man. You know, how can you go wrong with Spider Man?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a good one for sure. Like I said, I think that was
Yeah.
probably my number two with Spider-Man. I really enjoyed that one. Like I think that one came on the tail end of the X-Men one, because I want to say they did
hmm
X-Men, and then like the next year they brought out Spider-Man, and they were
Yeah.
running
Yeah.
together. I think they even did like a couple crossovers, and
hmm
then the X-Men one kind of ended, and the Spider-Man one continued on for a couple years after that,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. But
The
it's been so long.
Batman one was really good too. I know
Oh
it
yeah,
wasn't like
the
Marvel,
Batman.
but the
Yeah,
Batman, yeah, yeah,
that one was really
yeah,
good.
yeah,
It was really well done. Like it had a
yeah.
good tone to it. And
hmm
well, are you talking about the Batman or Batman the animated series? Those are two different.
Batman the animated series. Yeah, it was Batman the animated
Okay.
with Mark Hamill as
Yeah.
Joker. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
he was Joker in both of them. He played Joker in like everything.
Oh, was he? Was he in the? Okay. Well,
Yeah,
this is the
yeah.
the Paul Dini created
Yeah.
one that
Phantom
introduced
Mask.
Harley
Yeah.
Quinn.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah. That was a good one
Yeah,
too. That was pretty good. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
that was kind of had a bit of a more of a noir look to it. But aesthetically, yeah, that was a really nice. Had a great look to it. I'd give it for sure. I didn't
Yep.
really watch much of that one. I watched the Batman.
Yep.
Whenever my kids were younger, I discovered that, and we would sit and watch the Batman, and they got really into it for about a hot minute, and we watched all of it, and then they didn't want to have anything more to do with it, but that's fine. I got to watch it, and it was fun. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
with that, shall we roll the intro and start the show?
Let's yeah,
Let's
let's
do
do
it.
it.
All right. Your local video store card.
A comic book in your back pocket.
Games with no tutorials.
Music you had to discover.
And drinking water straight from the hose.
These are the things us millennials remember fondly. We are the Jennings brothers.
Join us after the streetlights come on,
As we race our bikes from the top of the hill,
right down memory lane.
exchange those quarters, because this
This
podcast
podcast
takes tokens.
All right. Well, welcome back to This Podcast Takes Tokens. We are on episode 54 this week, and tonight we're talking the cult classic movie Empire Records. Empire Records released October 20th, 1995. This year is actually going to be the 30th anniversary, if you can believe it or not. And yeah, this is a day in the life movie. Kind of all takes place within like a 24-hour time period. I really like that kind of setup because then you just get kind of like a slice of this little universe. And it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this one. This is one that I think I'd seen in bits and pieces in the 90s. And then my wife is a really huge fan of it. And she kind of reintroduced me to it. And then we've watched it a few times since then. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. This is a fun one. We're getting it in a little before the Rex Manning Day. April 8th is Rex Manning Day. That's the day that all the fans celebrate this movie. So we'll be getting it in a little before that. Yeah, so this movie had an estimated $10 million budget, if you could believe it. Any guesses at about how much of that it recovered?
I'm guessing not much.
No, this movie, sadly, they only put it out on like 80 something theaters, and it made $273,188 grand total box office.
Oh my gosh.
A flop by any stretch. Like, I think this is probably one of the biggest deficits I've ever seen. Yeah. And
yeah, so
but
bad.
went on to become a cult classic, so I mean, can't argue with that. Anyways, what do you think? This is your first time seeing it, right?
It's first time watching it. Yeah. I gotta be honest with you. I think this is my Burbs. Like yours.
Oh, really?
How you felt. So when the movie first started, like the first 10 minutes or so, I'm like, man, this is gonna be hard to finish. And then as it went on, I started warming up to it. And so yeah, okay. I liked watching it. It's probably not something I'm gonna go back to. But fair. For what it was, I did enjoy it for the most part. I felt like it was, I kind of felt like it was trying to be a Kevin Smith movie. I mean, I don't remember when Clerks came out.
94.
94. Okay. Well, yeah. Maybe it wasn't then. I just felt like it was almost like a Kevin Smith movie, but there was just a little something missing from it, you know? But that's not necessarily a slight at it, but that's kind of what it reminded me of, was sort of like a Kevin Smith light movie, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. Like, I totally want to talk with you about it. But yeah, it was like my Burbs. Like, I was like,
that's fair enough. All right.
So, yeah.
Well, I picked this to follow up our 90s music one because the soundtrack on this one had a lot of very popular 90s songs on it. It had Gin Blossoms, Till I Hear From You. I mean, we hear that one I think a couple times throughout the movie. Your Favorite, Cranberries, they're on here. Yeah. Toad the Wet Sprocket, Better Than Ezra, Cracker, Lustra. I can't really, there's not really a couple others. I'm not as familiar with Guar was in there, which was surprising. Like, I don't know how often you see Guar, but they were like 80s, weren't they? They were like 80s heavy metal, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Man, yeah, you don't see a lot of Guar, but yeah, Guar was there. I mean, appearance.
It's Guar.
And of course, the I guess, I don't know, title song or theme song or whatever, Sugar High, Coyote Shivers sings there at the end. Which, fun fact, he, at the time of filming this movie, was married to BB Buell, Liv Tyler's mom, and was really her stepdad.
Oh my gosh, that's weird. That's weird.
That's weird. Yeah.
I did like that song at the end. I liked that whole thing where they were up on the up on the roof and they were playing, and
it gets stuck in your head.
Fun. It was fun.
Catchy enough. Yeah.
Better
than Mia Moore, Mona Moore, whatever the Rex Manning song was.
Yes.
The fluff.
I love that. Like, he realizes like all the women coming to see him are like middle-aged
Yeah.
women, and like that one young girl comes there and she's like, make it out to, I don't know what the name was, Diana or something. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a great name. It's my mom's name.
I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No idea
That
who
was
you
great.
are. Yeah.
Yeah. I think mid 90s though. I mean, is there any more coveted job than that of a record store employee at this time?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it would be fun. Um it would be fun to hang out with those guys, you know, at that age. I don't know now if I was Joe,
Yeah.
like I don't think I could handle all that. But if I was if I was that age, like, you know, early 20, late teens, early 20s, like hanging out with those guys. Oh yeah. Back then in my life, I would have had a blast hanging out
Oh,
with
yeah.
these guys, you know.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I always wanted to work in a record store. I applied to a couple of them, never got the
Mm-hmm.
job. It seemed like one of those gigs where you kind of had to know the other employees because everybody
Yeah.
kind of like to mesh. Or a movie store, or a game store.
Mhm,
I guess we
mhm.
did kind of work in a movie store for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was it's always been it's like just like a 90s iconic thing, working in like a record store
Mhm.
or a movie store even. That you really, it's just like it kind of captures the vibe of like the ideal teen job of the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of thought that was fun. I like that
Mhm.
idea. And yeah, I think they did a good job capturing. I mean, this was the writer for this is actually a former Tower Records employee.
Oh, okay.
From what I was reading. So I guess it speaks to a lot of experience within that.
Mhm.
She kind of wrote about like her friends and some things that they did and embellished a lot and everything. But
Mhm.
yeah, it seems about appropriate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Go ahead. You were gonna say,
Okay.
say something.
well, I was gonna say this whole movie opens up with that impulsive youth attitude of I can fix all these problems that I see before me with this
Yeah.
one dumb impulsive choice.
Yeah.
And I am stubborn enough to believe that I'm the one that's going to do that.
Yeah.
And so Lucas then sets forth to rectify what situation he sees as wrong and makes the problem immensely worse.
Almost. He almost made it a little bit better.
Almost made it a little bit better.
Almost. I did.
And then
I,
went
I,
for more.
I liked that beginning scene. Like at first, you know, you see everything that he's seeing, like, oh, you know, this is getting bought out, you know, and all this, and then he's driving on his little moped or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is going on here? And then he goes, but I love when he walks by that slot machine and just, you know, ching 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 ching, and then he's like, black 21, and they're like, black 21, and everyone's like, what is going on, you know? And yeah, I liked that. And then yeah, of course, it just all comes crashing down after he lets
Always.
it ride.
One too many times. That's what all it takes.
Yeah, yeah. But I did like Lucas. I didn't quite understand him at first, but as the movie went on, I'm like, oh yeah, I really like this. I really like this guy. I like when, you know, Joe tells him not to leave the couch, so he just like ends up taking the cushion with him.
I didn't leave the couch.
Yeah,
I still got someone with me. Yeah.
Now
That's
he
good.
was
That's-
in I can't remember what that actor's name is. He was in Dazed and Confused as well.
Yeah,
Came
yeah.
out around that time.
He played Slater in Dazed
Yep.
and Confused. He was also, or Renee Zellweger was also in Dazed and Confused, as
Mhm.
was somebody else from this movie. I think was in Dazed and Confused as well. Maybe not. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. I thought there were a couple of them.
Mm.
But anyways,
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll have to do the movie sometime, and we
yeah.
can maybe
Oh, there
try
was
to make
also
connections with it.
the Dazed and Confused sticker they had on the
Yes,
the
I saw that.
register.
That was up on
Yeah.
the on the register. Was it? I wonder if it was surely it wasn't the same writer that did both of these.
I don't think. I don't think it was. No, because the
Okay.
Dazed and Confused writer, I can't remember his name, but he's from I think Arlington, Texas, or Austin,
Okay.
Texas, and he wrote Dazed and Confused based on growing up there, and that's why it's set in Texas, I believe.
Mhm.
Or it's set in like I think a fictitious Arlington, or I don't
Yeah,
know.
something
Anyways,
like that.
whatever.
It's been
yeah.
a while since I watched it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to go on the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was noticing that he was also in more recently, Yellowstone. Towards I think the last season, he was in Yellowstone.
Oh, really?
He played like a detective or something like that,
Okay.
which I thought was funny because the main guy, or I guess the second main guy in Yellowstone, there, what's his name? Oh,
Rip.
yeah, Rip. He
Yeah,
was also
yeah.
in Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
that one guy,
yeah.
yeah, which is just
I saw
like
that one day. I'm like,
crazy.
whoa,
Yeah.
that is the same guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made the connection while we were watching the show, and I'm just
Uh,
like, what? And I told my wife, and she's
yeah.
like, no way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just kind of blew my mind one day.
hmm
It's funny how that happens. But yeah, this one, I don't know. Like I said, my wife kind of reintroduced me to this one, and we watched it a few times, and it's fun. I like it. I enjoyed it. I have a lot of fun with it. It's a good it's just kind of a good I don't know what you want to call it, way back maker or whatever, where you kind of like you think it reminds you of like yourself in like a small way, not like a large way, but definitely like a small way, like the little like mischievous ways that they would kind of like get into stuff like gluing the coins to the floor and stuff like that. Like that's just kind of stuff that we would like.
I would have done. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And just create just a little bit of mischief, and I enjoy that.
Yeah.
I always enjoy that. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I like man, I have just like I like this part and I like that part and I like this part and I like that part, but I don't think that's going to be as much fun to go over.
Well,
so what of the whole thing? What was probably the you said, you liked it, but you're not going to go back and rewatch it. But so maybe what was like the most likable part of it for you?
Well, I think it was the interaction that the staff had with each other,
Okay.
which is odd because at first that irritated me because I'm
really?
I don't feel like any of these characters felt like real characters to me in the beginning. They all just kind of felt like caricatures of, of some
like 90s types.
Yeah, and like I've seen the guy in so many things. He was like the curly-haired dude that had that was in he was with Guar. What is his name?
The Mark. He was Mark.
Yes,
in
Mark.
the movie,
that's it. I'm like, this guy just doesn't seem real because he's just just like
a little
like
whirly.
Yeah, and he's like outside, and like he sees the painting of that woman. He's like nah, or whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, as it kind of went on, you could see that kind of started to go away, and I almost felt like it was written to where like they were having the characters act like that to kind of introduce you to like this is kind of who they are, and then as they started interacting with each other, then the layers kind of peel back a little bit, and you're like, oh yeah, these people have really like they've gotten to know each other pretty well because they've it seemed to me like even when they're not working, they're hanging out at that record store and just getting to know each other and everything. So yeah, I like that. And even their interactions with like their relationship with Joe, I thought was great.
He's like a surrogate father to a lot of them. It's a good,
you
kind of enjoy that. Yeah.
And why did he look like Scott Stapp?
Scott Stapp, who's that?
The frontman for Creed.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, I don't think it was intentional, but like I'm watching this, I'm like, is that Scott Stapp? Like, is he in this movie? And then I realized it wasn't him. I'm like, oh man, like he could win a lookalike contest with this guy.
No, the only other thing I recognized him from was he played Daphne's brother on Frasier, like the drunk brother that came over and was visiting with her and just kind of like fumbling around and everything, which seeing him in this, I'm like, man, he looks like 10 years younger in here than he did on Frasier, which was like right about the same time.
Yeah.
It's just like always weird to me, but it's anyways. It was a fun one, yeah. Like I liked it. I like one of my favorites is the whole shoplifter scene whenever that kid comes in and Lucas just kind of like takes his time, like he just kind of sits down, changes out his shoes real quick, and kind of sizes up the guy. Kind of walks over to him and he's like, "Hey, what you doing?" Kind of chats him up a little bit. And the kid finally
Need help finding anything?
Yeah. And the kid goes to take off and he just like cuts him off at every pass.
Yes.
I like the little cat and mouse game they kind of had going there.
And then everybody was in on it at that point. They're like, "Oh, we gotta catch this guy." Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, and then they get him in the back, and they just kind of like they mess with him just a little bit more, which is just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was funny, and they kept calling him Warren, even though that wasn't his name, because he like said he was Warren Beatty or something like that
Yeah.
when they and so and several times, they're like, oh, Warren over here. He's like, that's not
Yeah.
my name, but they like make him the little name badge that says
Yeah.
Warren on it and everything. But
He never corrected him.
no, he didn't. And one of the things that I had a note down that I thought was really funny. It was when he's in that back room with them,
Yeah.
and Gina comes out, Renee Zellweger's character, and she's like wearing almost nothing, and
Yeah.
Lucas like covers his eyes up.
He's
You're
like,
too
nope.
young to see this. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. That was funny.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she I didn't like her too much. But I don't think I was supposed to.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. I guess like for us, like the characters that we're probably going to connect with are either I would say probably Lucas or AJ would be the
Yeah.
characters that the males are going to connect to, and then the females
Yeah.
are probably going to, I would assume, connect with either one of those two, maybe the third one even. Feeling like an outcast, like a like you can't find where you belong, you can't figure it
Yeah.
out and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
that was kind of yeah. What she did was just like to her friend, man. I can't imagine.
That was
That's
rough.
something that I
Yeah.
only see like
Mm.
yeah.
But
I only see.
maybe I missed it. I didn't understand why, like,
I
Liv
didn't understand
Tyler.
that I don't why
Like,
she's so obsessed with him.
well, there was that, but then like, she's like, well, I'm gonna offer myself to him or whatever.
Yeah.
And then she's in that room with him, and I can't remember, like, maybe I missed it. Did he say something that like turned her off? Because she just like grabs everything and like leaves.
Oh, I think that was more like she envisioned it as like this grand romantic thing, like he's a romantic songwriter and he's just gonna like take her in his arms and like ease her into it, and he was more like, okay baby, let's do it, rock and
Yeah.
roll,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
she was just like, no, this isn't what I thought it was gonna
Yeah.
be, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just
Okay.
crushed her.
Okay.
And
Maybe I
yeah.
didn't miss anything because I'm like trying to listen. Like, did he say something? Like, I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't figure that out. So yeah.
No.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
It was just she had over romanticized him, which is that's the whole thing I'm on. I'm like, why is she like obsessed with this guy that's like
yeah.
easily 2, maybe 3 times her age? I don't get
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never been a teenage girl, so I don't understand that type of thing. I'm not going to pretend like I do either.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. She's telling Gina in that first scene with them, she's got that picture of him.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be my first, and I think that's good. I think Rex is a good first for you. It's like, what is this? Like, who even is this guy? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
Not somebody, like some teeny bopper or something like that. No,
Yeah.
just some guy who had hits like 20 years ago. But,
yeah.
Anyways, I gonna shift it now.
Sure.
Another one of the things that I really enjoyed was whenever Joe goes back into his office, and it's kind of like a stress reliever. He hits the AC/DC and hits that drum kit and just starts jamming out with it, and then like everybody else kind of like starts going on with it too. I just really enjoyed that. That was a good good use of music, and it was a great just like you can kind of like feel what the character's feeling, like his aggression, his anger, and he's just kind of like pouring it out real quick. I always like whenever they do that in movies, and they kind of like anytime like there's a drummer and they just take it out on the drum kit. I don't know why, but that always just like feels right.
Yeah.
I feel like in another life I may have been a drummer, maybe.
Maybe so. Who knows? Who knows?
I'll never know.
Yeah. I along the lines of Joe. So when the owner, I can't remember the guy's name, but when his boss comes in,
Oh yeah,
and he's like, I need the money from last night. I need to deposit or whatever. So he like puts just papers and stuff in this bag and zips it up and locks it. The guy like never tries to go and deposit it, right? Like,
well, I don't know. Did he ever leave at some point? Well, I guess maybe he didn't. He was probably like hanging back and trying to schmooze the record guy, the Rex Manning guy, because I think he's the reason why Rex Manning was there, is because he was trying to promote the record store and make it profitable. And this is like his big swing, because he clearly has no taste as far as like, you know, what's current and what's trendy and everything, which is why, you know, perfect to, you know, own a record shop. But yeah.
Right.
So I think he was just hanging back trying to like schmooze on that guy a little bit, thinking like that might help in some way or whatever, make that go smooth.
Yeah.
And he may have just never got around to leaving to go make that deposit. Because I think at the end, doesn't he take it back, or did it ever come back? I can't remember.
I don't think it ever came back, but Joe comes over there with that big container of money.
Yeah, the pickle jar.
Like, you know, the pickle jar. He's like, yeah, count it. You know, I'm buying you out or whatever. And I'm like, I don't think there's that much money in that pickle jar. But okay. I'm like, I'm sure for the sake of the movie there was, but
yeah. Well, I think he also said something about like, you know, like he's like, I'll sell it to you, Joe. I'll sell it to you real cheap.
Real cheap.
Like,
yeah.
He was like, I just want to be done with this, which I'm like,
yeah.
Why you're this whole savvy businessman this whole time, and now you're just like, you know what, I'm out, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with it because
they
you had to be there one day.
Yeah. I mean, Music City is ready to write the check, right?
Right.
Like,
I'm sure
you're
it's
going to get more money
in
a Music City than you are from Joe and his pickle jar full of tips and admission fees and everything.
They must be like old friends or something, and he just owes Joe a favor. Would be my guess. And or he's indebted to Joe in some way. Would be my guess. Yeah. So here's something that I was looking for throughout the movie, and I didn't spot, but on the DVD cover, on the movie poster cover, everybody's standing there, and they're all behind Liv Tyler, and down at her feet there is a dog, like kind of like the RCA dog or the dog from Frasier, you know, like a little, I don't know what you call that, Yorkie or Terrier, I think. Boston, not a Boston Terrier, Jack Russell Terrier, I think is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
So there's like this little dog on the cover. I never saw a dog in the whole movie. So I don't know if the dog got cut or what, but I know that in my research looking into this, because I went and I read some things on it, the original cut had about 40 extra minutes that they pulled, and it actually ended up cutting out like 2 characters completely and reducing a couple other characters' lines to just, or a couple other character arcs to just a couple of lines, like the what's her name, the record producer girl that's there with Rex Manning. She had a whole thing, and like her and Joe, and apparently like, you know, like they started,
you just kind of see the end of it.
Yeah, you just kind of see the end where he's like, you want to go get dinner or whatever. Yeah. But apparently there was like a lot more leading up to that, and there was like more explanation about like AJ and Liv Tyler's character Corey and their history, and kind of like because it was supposed to be spread out over 2 days originally, and then they cut out all this stuff and they put it down to like a 1-day movie. And it kind of like, I can see where that makes some of it seem a little chaotic almost, or half-baked. Like some of it's just like, it's definitely like you have to make inferences or assumptions, and it's definitely not giving you the whole, all the pieces to the puzzle. Like you've got like a 1,000-piece puzzle here, and we're missing 80 of the pieces, and there's some holes, and for sure it doesn't look right. Like there's definitely like some things that are off. I'd like to see it with all that stuff back in it. I think
like the director's cut or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we need that for all of them. We were in the modern age. Can't we do that?
Right.
No.
Yeah. I mean, if we can have like 15 different cuts of Blade Runner, we can certainly have, you know, an extended cut of Empire Records.
Yeah, of something. Yeah. I think the DVD I read has an extended cut. There's like the DVD release was an
Mm-hmm.
extended cut version. It didn't have all of it, but it
Mm-hmm.
had some more. But I've never. Maybe I did see that version of it because when we met, we were watching DVDs, so maybe that's the version I saw
Mm-hmm.
originally.
Did you
Because I
watch it
watched.
on? Did you watch it on Hulu this time?
I
Or
watched it on Hulu this time.
yeah,
Yeah.
same. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know if that was the same one or not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. It's been a
Yeah.
while since I watched the actual DVD. We've been streaming stuff for
Yeah.
like 10 years now. I can't
I know,
can't
and I
keep
hate
track
that.
of all
Like
that.
I own discs of things, and the only time I get them out anymore is if I am wanting to watch something that is not streaming, because it's just so convenient.
Yeah.
Just to, I'll just
Click,
go
click,
into
click.
Netflix and yeah, and I'm done. You know,
Yep.
how lazy are we? It's like, oh my gosh, I gotta get
Oh,
up, pull
I
out the
mean,
case, open it up. But I mean, with our wives,
even
it's like I gotta get up, I gotta open up the disc folder because our cases are all gone.
can't have cases, can't have nice things
Yes,
like
yes,
a nice
yes.
DVD library wall. Yeah. Now we had I mean, even back whenever I started getting DVDs, like the moment I got a computer, I was ripping them onto my hard drives and networking
Mm-hmm.
Xbox or whatever I could
Making like a little
into it
server or
to
whatever, to you know.
yeah, to play them and watch
Mm,
them kind of on demand in a more rudimentary way, but
yeah,
I mean still it's my DVDs, so but yeah, I like that. I like the
yeah.
the convenience of just being able to press a button and watch the
Mm-hmm.
thing. I mean, even before that, I had a 5 and a 10 DVD um, player that held
Mm-hmm.
5 or 10 DVDs, and I'd put in there and loaded up with a bunch of them. There were a couple that just like stayed in the rotation, but yeah, what are you gonna do? Now we
Yeah, I
stream it,
mean, we'll
and
see.
it's all good.
We're talking about this, and then it makes me think
Yeah,
of like music. Like we have
yeah,
Spotify, or we have YouTube Music or Apple Music or whatever, and that's the whole reason we don't have Empire Records anymore. Is because we're streaming
yeah.
everything.
Streaming everything. I know. On one hand, I miss going down to the record shop and flipping through albums and picking
Yeah.
out and finding new music. Like up in the
Mm-hmm.
second story of the Empire Records here, they had the listening booths.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the listening
Oh
booths. You
yeah.
remember the listening booths?
Mm.
Yeah, that was
I
awesome. You'd let you listen to
vaguely,
anything for as
yeah.
long as you wanted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'd go up there. There
I
was
mean, so
well, go
I
ahead.
didn't have I didn't have a record store like here. I live
Yeah.
in a smaller town. You're in the city. Like our listening booth was going over to Walmart, and you would like scan the
Oh yeah,
CD, and then you had like you could listen to
a
like
couple
60
options maybe.
seconds of a couple options or
Yeah,
whatever. But still, I mean, you got to preview the album before you bought it,
yeah, a little
I
something.
guess.
Yeah,
So, but the listening booth would be nice if you could just listen to the whole thing in its entirety and be like, okay,
yeah.
there's maybe one song I don't like on here, but I'll take the rest.
I used to go on when I worked at Target in high school. I'd go on my lunch
Mm-hmm.
breaks and I'd walk down, or next door there was a Subway. I grab a Subway sandwich,
Yeah.
eat the Subway sandwich. As I'm walking further down the strip, there was a what is it called? CD warehouse back in the day.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
about then I'd finish up my little 6-inch, throw away my trash. I'd go in, pick out a couple CDs, load it up, and just sit there for the rest of my break and listen to whatever music I felt like listening
Yeah.
to, and just put them back and move
Yeah.
on with my day.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I go in there and
Yeah.
buy one,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they always had great deals. It was like you could get
Mm.
if you bought 10 used CDs that were like $8.99 a piece, you would get your 10th one for
Mhm.
free or something like that. So that was always a good deal.
Oh.
I'd usually go up there and blow
Yeah.
a paycheck every once in a while buying like a dozen CDs or something.
Jeez. Jeez. Yeah, I don't remember spending that much. I would drive up to it was back when we had Hastings. Did you ever have a Hastings down there?
No,
It was like
never.
a store. It was like a chain of stores that had like music, books, comic books, like video games, like Magic the Gathering cards, like board games, all this stuff. And I remember I remember driving to, like, there was one that was like in, a town that was like a half hour away. And once I was able to drive, I'd drive over there, every, maybe one weekend a month or something. And I would go and pick up a CD or two and maybe a game or something. So yeah, I guess maybe I blew paychecks on stuff before like that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun. No, we had
Yeah.
what was it called around here? It's something called Movie Trading Company. They came around in like late 99 was the first time I went into one. But they had VHSs and DVDs and records and games from used games from whatever systems, like you could just bring in anything, any media, like comic books. They even did like, now you go into them and they've even got trading cards and all that other kind of stuff. They still got one up the street from us. They're expensive right now, but I mean, it's the only game in town. But now they do like, they've got action figures there now too, which is weird, but I guess that's a thing.
Like vintage stock. I don't know if you've got those down there or not, but like
it's the same company.
Like chains up here called vintage. Yeah. Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. They just call them Movie Trading Company now.
I've went in there.
They one of them bought the other one out. I don't remember when.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've went in there a couple times and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get Star Tropic. I was gonna get Star Tropics for NES, like the original NES. They were wanting like $50 for it or something. I'm like, nope. I
go on eBay,
I can play it on Switch.
30. Yeah, that too. Yeah, their prices are crazy high. And Bruce likes to go in there and like get things every once in a while. I'm like, that's cool, it's your allowance, whatever. And I'll go in there and I'll kind of like walk around and browse and I'll look at it. I'm like, man, they want like all the Nintendo games they have are all those like, they sold like 1 million copies of like, whatever NFL football game or whatever. All those like RIB, whatever. Like all these ones that are just like there's 1 million copies of them out there anyways.
Oh yeah,
and they still want like $10 a piece or something like that. And I'm like, oh, come on, I've already got them, but
it's because they're vintage.
Yeah, they're vintage. But, so I don't really buy from them. I try and hit the little shops whenever I find them. When I go for my games, which is like whenever we go on vacation, I'll usually like scout out a shop near where we're going on vacation, and I'll kind of make a little detour there and maybe get a couple games or something like that. I try not to buy them online. I like to kind of go into the stores and get them. But anyways, I've derailed our conversation far enough off of this movie.
Sorry. Empire Records. So I'm gonna shoot something out here for Empire Records. Everybody was disturbingly calm when Warren comes in with the gun. Like, I know he had blanks in that thing, but everyone's just like,
but they didn't know that.
Warren, what are you doing? Like,
I think they were probably
and then he just gets off
like
scot-free with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is 95. This is before like Columbine or any of that stuff. So like, gunplay like that in like a movie or something was just completely like, it's nothing. It's fine. It's playful. You couldn't do that in a movie today. Yeah, for sure. They'd be throwing a book at him. Even in the movie, you get the book thrown at him. Even in a comedy movie.
Yep.
Yeah. They just don't do that anymore. But I think that was more of a all the characters were kind of like, we know, we may not know this guy personally, but we know his type. We know, where he's coming from. He's an angsty teenager. He's a little bit misfit. He's kind of like us, and he kind of fits in with us, and then they kind of all seem to take him under their wing a little bit and, accept him. And that's all, it seems like all he really wanted was just to kind of be part of it. And he kind of gets that in the end. I feel like there's a sequel somewhere where Warren's in the mix more.
Those W-2s say Warren Beatty, but
somewhere in Hollywood, Warren Beatty's like, I never worked at a record store.
Yeah.
But I got all these W-2s. I never paid taxes there either.
Yeah.
So I mentioned up top that April 8th is Rex Manning Day. That's where the fans like to celebrate this movie on April 8th, which was never explicitly talked about in the movie. In fact, the movie was released in October 20th. But the screenwriter came out and said that the movie actually takes place on April 8th. And so that's why it became Rex Manning Day and this whole thing.
I see.
And
Okay.
there's like last year they did a tie-in with Aviation Gin, and the guy that plays Rex Manning, he comes out dressed as Rex Manning, and he's like, "Hey, I'm here to celebrate Rex Manning Day with two of my biggest fans and two of my favorite gins, Aviation Gin and this other, like whatever the other one was that Ryan Reynolds was, hawking at the time." And they did like this whole like Rex Manning Day thing tie-in with Aviation Gin last year. It was kind of funny. It's on YouTube. But yeah. Anyway, so he picked April 8th as a homage to Kurt Cobain, because April 8th, 1994 was the day Cobain was found in his apartment dead. And so the writer chose that date as an homage after the fact. The movie came out after the fact, but after the movie came out, made the put it on the record that's whenever this whole thing takes place on April 8th. So that's kind of interesting. A little bit. Yeah. So, yeah. I guess there was a cut scene that explained that a little more, but it got cut or whatever, and he kind of wanted to put that on the record. Yeah. So I was
looking at the credits on this, and I guess Tobey Maguire was in this movie. Where was he? I missed him.
That was one that was cut. And all that stuff that got cut out. Yeah.
Okay.
He was originally cast as I think the Mark character.
Oh.
Mark or Lucas, one of those two. He was originally cast as. And then he backed out because he didn't want to commit to a big part because he wanted to focus on screenwriting. And so they had him come in and do a smaller part instead. And then that ended up getting cut whenever they did the final edits.
Okay.
Which is kind of like one of those, like what could have been type things, but also like it was a small bit part. So in this movie, clearly, at the time didn't really do anything anyway. So it didn't matter to him anyways.
Yeah.
I think about this time he was doing, was it Pleasantville that came out around this time?
Yeah. Great movie.
Yeah. So there was that. So
yeah. I couldn't understand. So, what's her name? Not Corey, not Gina.
Deborah?
Yes, Deborah. She comes in, shaves her head.
Ah.
How is there hair cutting equipment and like like a buzzer just sitting around, lying around in some storage closet?
I think she paid. Well, I imagine like back I remember I had friends at that age that would cut their own hair. Like we did the bowl cut a lot back then. And so really all you needed was some scissors to kind of like trim the top up to make it level. And then, the buzzers to go around the sides. And they just sit there and do each other, like just flip the hair over and somebody would come and just, and then flip it back and then do it really quick. And so they do each other's hair at, all the time in the back of the church. And it was just like something that I guess we did. So I could see it being there for that reason. Yeah. But her coming in and shaving her head was not in the script originally. And she discussed it with the director and everything. And she's like, "Hey, I got this idea. What do you think?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so she came in and cut her hair and shaved her head. And a month later, she's filming The Craft and had to wear a wig because it wasn't coming back.
Okay. Yeah.
In The Craft, she's wearing a wig because of this.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I figured she was actually cutting her hair while it was being, but wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
One of those impulsive things, but I mean, I can't imagine the character with hair, which is weird.
Yeah.
I think it suits her, but yeah. So some people can pull it off, some people can't. I think she can pull it off. It works.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And I got one more little thing that I uncovered, which is kind of weird. I couldn't find heads or tails of it, but I saw mention of them about 5 years ago developing a Broadway musical based on this. And
Really?
the only things I could find were a couple of YouTube videos that were just a couple minutes long
Yeah.
of some improv groups doing reading scenes from the movie. Like they had like the script printed out and they were reading the movie like on stage while they were like drinking or something. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it was just like the video I watched, it started in the middle of a scene. It went for about 2 minutes and then it ended before that scene actually wrapped up. So it wasn't even a full like of any, I don't know. It's weird when you come across those old YouTube videos like that where it's just like a slice of something.
Right.
It's like I got no beginning, I got no end. I don't even really have a middle here. I've just got like, like something that loosely resembles video.
Yeah.
But here it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so apparently there was a Broadway musical in the works, which
interesting.
I guess could work. I mean, it seems like anything with a decent soundtrack, they kind of try and
they
build
do.
a Broadway musical around.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it could work.
Yeah.
Maybe. I think you have to retool it a little bit, but it could work.
I could see it. I mean, the thing that the movie just basically takes place in, well, it's just in one building. I mean, I know they've got a couple outside scenes, but you could easily put that on the
transition.
stage.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So that's about all I got. I did come across one other little factoid. I didn't write it down, but I couldn't find much to back this one up either, so I didn't really follow up with it. But since we got a few minutes left here and it's on top of mind, there were 2 almost castings. One of them was Angelina Jolie in the role of Deborah, the one that shaved her head.
Oh, okay.
And Billy Joel Armstrong in the role of Burko, her boyfriend, the one that's the lead singer of the band at the end. Yeah, so
wow,
that's just crazy to think about. That could have been a thing, but yeah. So
interesting.
Interesting. All right. I feel like I did a good research on this one.
Yeah,
I filled a lot of time.
You did. Yeah.
All right. Any closing thoughts? Any final objections or anything?
Nothing? No objections. No objections.
Okay.
Like I said, it was a good watch, but not something I'm probably gonna go back to. But
see, as a music person, I thought you might get a little more out of it than that.
Sure.
Maybe it's not your area of music.
The music, yeah. I mean, there was some music in there. I'm like, I don't even know what this is. But no, one thing I did like though was when they, in the beginning of the day, they all took an M&M. And then Gina pulls it out and she's like, oh, it's orange. Mark's like, it's me. So he gets to pick what music, goes on first. And I liked how AJ had a veto. I'm assuming everybody has a veto that they can use, like, maybe it's good for so long or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm vetoing this. Like, I can't listen to this. And then he takes his lighter and just lights the bottom of the CD so that he doesn't ever have to listen to it again. And I appreciated that. I liked that because I'm like, yeah, you would have to be able to have a veto at least once. Because, I don't know, somebody's going to put on something you just absolutely can't stand, and you're gonna have to, But you got to use that veto. Like, you've got to be pretty
crafty,
pretty crafty with it, because
you don't want to burn it too soon.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's not something that you get very many of very often. So you're just like, yeah.
So then, does it go to the next person's song? I would assume, or do you get to pick a different one to go in place of it?
Oh, I don't know. Did Mark pick something else? Did he put something else in there? I don't know.
I think AJ was one. I think he loaded up to whatever the next song was. Okay. So maybe go. Maybe he vetoes and he gets to throw his in place of it.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know the rules.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe that's in that extended cut that we haven't got to see.
They explained. They took about 5 minutes to explain the rules.
yeah. Just sitting there, just standing there on the steps, and okay, you remember the rules now. I don't know. But I will say this. Even though this wasn't my favorite movie, I have really enjoyed talking to you about it, though.
All right.
It's yeah. So So there's that.
Always. There's
Yeah.
always that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always a good conversation to be had for sure.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I don't want to. I'm all wrapped up on the movie. So if you want to take us into the icebreaker and
Sure,
wrap it out,
sure.
we can do
Yeah.
that.
Icebreaker for next week. It was along the same lines of this music. I guess we're just going to carry the music over for a couple episodes here. What is the worst album you have ever purchased?
Ooh.
So you're like, oh, I'm excited to get this. You buy it, you pop it in, you're like, oh, there's like one good song on this album, or whatever, so you immediately regretted buying it. I don't know.
So you're I was thinking of from the perspective of I bought it originally because I really wanted it, and then quickly my opinion of that music changed. So you're saying, I guess, any way you want to come at it, right?
All the above, yeah. Any way you want to come out of it. Yep. Yep.
All right, that works. Worst album you ever bought. Right.
Worst album you ever bought. Yeah. And if you're listening, let us know and put down in the comments what's the worst album you've ever bought. Saturday morning cartoons, like we talked about in the beginning of the episode. What was your favorite Saturday morning cartoon? We will. We'd love to read all the comments on the air. So put anything down and we will read it. So
absolutely,
we appreciate everybody listening. Remember, sharing is caring. Reviews help a lot. If you can give us a review, we would appreciate it. I think Apple Podcasts, you can still leave a review on there. You can leave a review on Spotify, share on Facebook or any of your other social media platforms that you are on. We would really appreciate it. Be kind and rewind, and we'll see you next time.
See you all around.
This Podcast Takes Tokens is a Clay Street production.